Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful dress. This is a subscriber's request and I'll be taking you through the process of cutting and stitching. The only thing I changed in this style is the sleeve. I wanted a short sleeve other than the regular bishop sleeve. Now let's jump right into the cutting and the sewing. I have 2 yards of printed crepe fabric here. This is what I'll be using to make this style. If you have 3 yards or 2 yards, it is enough for the style depending on your size, and I'll also be making use of a zip. This is my half scale bodice and it is the front pattern. If you don't know how to draft these, I have done this severally on my channel, and I will also put a link to the video on how to draft this so that you can watch and understand. But for this project, I'll be making use of this half scale and I will alter it to achieve the style you saw on the thumbnail. So now the darts on this pattern is inclusive in the waist measurements. The next step is to tighten the underbust. So take your underbust measurement divided by 4, and whatever you have left there, you're going to divide it on the 2 sides. So I have 1.25 after I was done taking that measurement. So I'm going to put 0.5 at the side facing the center front and 0.75 at the side facing the side front. And I'm going to connect with my cuff to make the bust point and also connect to the waistline like so. To form the neckline, from the chest line, I'll go up by 1.5 inches. And at the center front there, I'll go up by 1 inch. And I'll connect that into a straight line. The next step is to mark ½ inch from the center all the way down. After marking that, I'll extend the nipple to nipple measurement all the way to the new neckline. So mark your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 and connect that line into the bust point. And I'm going to tighten the neckline. So I'll come out by 0.25 on the side facing the center front and 0.5 on the side facing the side front, and I'll connect that into the bust point. To form the first cup, I'll place my curve on the ½ inch mark at the top and make sure it is also touching the under bust line, and I'll connect like so. So before I can form the second cup, I need to close the dart, so I'll skip that part now. Next, from the shoulder slope, I'll mark 3 inches, and at the neckline there, I'm going to mark 2 inches and I'll connect that together. You can connect that with your ruler or you can connect it with your curve, depending on your preference. I am cutting out now, but that is not all on this pattern. I am going to close the bust dart so that we can form the second cup. Now that I have closed the bust dart, from the side I am going to mark 1.5 inches. So mark that 1.5 inches there, and you're going to bring in your curve. From the neckline, make sure it is touching that 1.5 inches and also touching the under bust line, and you're going to connect like so. So this will be the second cup. So label your cup 1 and 2 and point arrows to the bust points. You can also point arrows at the top and bottom to indicate where the top and the bottom is. And also label the rest of the pattern, the center front, the side front, just in a way that you are going to easily understand the patterns. Also label your yoke, and I'm going to continue cutting out the rest of the pattern. For the back pattern, I have the half scale drafted here, and like I said with the front, If you don't know how to draft this half length pattern, I'll put the link in the description box so that you can watch the video I made on how to draft a half length pattern. I have my zip allowance of 1.5 inches there, and I tightened the center back with 0.75. So you need your zip allowance because this dress is going to have a zip at the back, and the dart on the waistline is already included in the waist measurements. The neck width I used here is 3.5 inches, and I'm going to mark a neck depth of 2 inches, and I'll connect that with my curve, and I'll extend the neck depth into the zip allowance. So just like we altered the front pattern at the shoulder, I'm going to mark 3 inches, the same measurement we marked for the front pattern. And from that 3 inches mark, I'm just going to do like a V neckline. I think that is the length should be about 6 to 7 inches. And I'm just going to extend that into the zip allowance also. So this new neckline will be the neckline we'll make use of. So I'm just going to cut out like so. The back pattern is very simple, nothing much there. I am transferring the cups to fabric here, and the width of the fabric I have placed on the table is about 17 inches and the length is 9 inches, and I have 2 fabric folded on the table. And the first thing I'm doing at the top is just to fold 1 inch away before placing the cup on the fabric. So just fold 1 inch away like you see me doing, and the next step is to draw slash lines on the 2 cups. I'll label the pieces A, B, C, and D so that I can easily know the placement on the fabric. So I'm just going to cut that out. I'll cut it entirely out, and then I'll start pinning it on the fabric. So the allowance in between each of the pieces, you can determine that yourself. You can do 1 inch in between each of the pieces depending on how full you want the front part to be. For this one, I used 1 inch. The allowance at the top is 1 inch, but the allowance at the bottom is not up to 1 inch with the way I pinned it. Once I'm done pinning all the pieces on the fabric, I'll add the necessary allowance and cut out. But please take note of the way I pinned the pieces on the fabric. I pinned it away from the 1 inch allowance I left at the top. So I'll cut it out now. This part I am notching here is the parts facing the center front, so it is important to notch so that you can know exactly how to place the cup to join it to the rest of the front pieces. After taking out the patterns, this is what we have. This is what we have as the cup that will fit into the front of the dress. And these are the rest of the patterns. I have transferred it to fabric. And for the yoke part, this is what I have. I have 2 pieces here for one side of the yoke and 2 pieces for the other side. One piece will serve as my lining and the other one will serve as the main fabric. What I'm going to do first is to go ahead and stitch this part I'm showing you, the neckline of the yoke. I'll go ahead and use 1/2 inch to stitch it. And this is the rest of the front part. I added 1/2 inch allowance all round, but for the side joining I added 1.5 inches. And this is what we have. I'll open it up now and go ahead and use this one to cut out the lining piece. For the 2 cup pieces, I'll take it to the sewing machine and run a gather stitch and make gathers in a way that it will fit into the space we created for the cup. I'll do that and bring it back and show you. I have cut my lining for the lower part of the top part, and I'm just going to set that aside so that we can work on the cup. I have run a gather stitch and I'm just going to pull the gathers. So while pulling the gathers, make sure that you centralize it at the center. You want the gathers to be at the center of the cup. So while pulling, Centralize the gathers at the center of the cup. Just like you see the way mine is, I centralize the gathers at the center, and we are going to fix it into the space we have on the cup. And note that the gathers did not start from the part where I have the allowance at the top of the cup. No, it started below the allowance. So note that the part where we have the allowance at the top, you're not going to pin that to the fabric. Leave away the allowance we left on the cup and start pinning away from the allowance. And pin around the entire cup space till you get to the other side. After pinning, this is what we have. I'll take it to the sewing machine now and use 1/2 inch to stitch the cup together with the main fabric. Make sure to use 1/2 inch to stitch it around, and I'll do the same thing for the other side of the cup. I'm making sure that the gathers is positioned at the center, so make sure that you do that properly before taking it to the sewing machine to stitch. I'll repeat the same process for the other cup. There is something I forgot to show you here, that you're supposed to stitch your lining at the center first before starting with the cup part, but it is still the same thing. So please start with the lining first, stitch it with 1/2 inch at the center before fixing your cup the way I explained earlier. From where you started stitching your cup, you are going to notch it so you can easily flip your lining over and stitch your lining on it. I hope you understand what I mean. So you're just going to use your lining to stitch around the entire cup space that you have there. Basically, you're going to use the lining to cover the stitch you have at the cup area, and once you're done stitching, this is what you're going to have by the time you flip it to the right side. So just go ahead and stitch it and do the same thing for the other side of the cup. I'll do that now and bring it back and show you. After fixing the lining, this is what we have. The next thing is just to cover the top of the cup, and the allowance I left at the top is what we are going to use to cover the top of the cup. You can see the way I folded it like that. You are going to fold it twice on the cup and use your pin to secure it down. I hope you see what I'm doing here, and I hope you actually understand. And you're going to fix in your rope before stitching down. So just fix in your rope like that and use your pin to secure it down for the meantime before taking it to the sewing machine to stitch. The reason why I'm fixing the rope this way is just so that it is adjustable. By the time you put it on, you can easily adjust the rope. You can easily adjust the neckline with the rope at the center and tie it in a preferred way. At the side front where the rope is, you are going to stitch it down so that it stays secured there. Go ahead now and run a stitch to secure this front part, and you are going to repeat the same thing for the other side of the cup. This is it after I was done stitching, and when I said it is going to be adjustable, this is exactly what I mean. So by the time you wear it, by the time you complete the dress and you wear it, you can easily adjust the cup in whatever way you want. You can easily adjust the cup and tie it. This is exactly what I meant by it being adjustable. The next step now is to fix the yoke to this front part. So I have stitched the neckline of the yoke and I'm just going to fix it on this front part. So just look at the way I'm placing it at the side. Go ahead and fix it there. Use your pin to secure it down and run a stitch on the top to secure the yoke together with the front bodice. For the back pattern, I have transferred to fabric and I added all the necessary allowance. I'm transferring the darts on the pattern to the fabric and I will take note of the length of the darts. Now I will just take out the pattern so that we can see what we have. I have also cut out my lining piece, and the first thing I'm going to do to this back piece is to go ahead and place the lining on the main fabric. Make sure that the right side is facing each other, and I'll go ahead and stitch the neckline area. But first off, I'll take in the darts. Taking the darts on the lining and also on the main fabric, and I'll go ahead and stitch the neckline and the zip area. For the front piece, this is after I was done attaching the yoke, and this is what we have. I have also worked on the back piece. I have stitched the darts in place, and I closed the zip allowance at the back also. The next step is to join the front and the back together. I'll first join at the shoulder. I'll place the back on the front piece, right side facing each other, and I'll pin the shoulders together and stitch with 1/2 inch. I'll do the same thing on this other side. I'll pin the shoulders together and I'll stitch with 1/2 inch. Once I'm done joining the shoulders together, I'll go ahead and join the sides with the allowance I left there. So join the sides together and I'll bring it back and show you. After joining, I went ahead to press it properly and I finished it up with the overlocker. The next step is to cut the down part of this dress. You're going to place your fabric on bias and you're going to fold it into 4 so that you can cut both the front and the back together. And the first line I have at the top is the waistline. I'll mark the waist measurement and I'll add 1.5 inches for zip allowance, also for the slit allowance. So the zip allowance is for the back and the slit allowance is at the front, and 1 inch for hemming allowance. The next measurement I'll be marking is the waist to the hip measurement. This is to confirm if the space I have there is enough for the hip measurement, and also with extra 4 inches or 5 inches as the case may be, depending on how full you want it to be. So once I'm okay with what I have there, I'll go ahead and mark the length of the skirt part. The length I'm using here is 35 inches and I'll connect the dots together and cut out. I'll separate the two pieces away from each other. One will serve as the front and the other for the back. This is the one I want to use for the back, and I'll mark my zip allowance of 1.5 inches and I'll connect it all the way down. I'll notch the exact point for the zip allowance and I'll separate the pieces. This is the other piece for the front, and the next step is to mark the part where we are going to put the slit. The first step is to decide on the side where you want the slit to be, whether it is the left side or the right side. Once you are done with that decision, you are going to notch the center of the lower piece. Notch the center first, and once you are done notching the center, open it up again and fold one side towards the center. Or you can use your measuring tape to get the midpoint of the remaining side. Once you are done getting the midpoint, that is where the slit will be. So I'm going to fold it like you see me doing. Make sure that the upper part is exactly the point where you marked. The lower part needs to be bigger than the upper part because this is not a straight skirt, it is a 180-degree flare. And you are going to cut through to open it up. This is what I have now, and the next step is to measure where you want your slits to start from. So you can take that measurement on your body and mark that same measurement here. And once you are done marking that, you are going to mark your allowance for the slits and stitch from the top up to the point where the slits will start from. I have stitched my slit in place and I folded the rest of the part that will be opened. And this is what we have, and I pressed it properly. The next step now is to join the back to the front. So just place it together, right side facing each other, and go ahead and join the sides together with the allowance that you left there. Remember, we added 1 inch allowance for the joining. I will use that to join both pieces together, and I'll bring it back and show you. I am done joining here, and this is what we have. You can use your overlocker to do your inseam finishing so that everything stays nice and neat. The next step now is to join the upper part to the lower part. So you're just going to match all the important joinings together because you want where you have the joining on the upper part to match that of the lower part. So make sure to pin those points together before pinning all the way around the waist. I'll take it to the sewing machine now and stitch with 1/2 inch. This is after I was done stitching and I went ahead to fold the hem of the dress with 1/2 inch. And now the next step is to go ahead and fix in my zip. So go ahead and fix in your zip to this dress. And also for the sleeve part, like I said earlier, I won't be making use of a bishop sleeve. I'm just going to go in with a simple short sleeve. Thank you guys for watching. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, leave a comment, share this video with your friends and subscribe to my channel. Turn on your notification bell so you'll get notified anytime I upload a new video. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.